Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for inviting me to your meeting. Great to be here. Yeah, he was making a hard sell too, boy. He wouldn't let up. I kept saying, nope, I have my commitment on Tuesdays. I'm of service speaking and many other times, but that's my Tuesday meeting. And he just kept, anyway, so it worked. And here I am. So don't go out often from my Tuesday, but I'm grateful to be of service in any way that I can. So I'm glad to be here. Hopefully, I won't get in out. Hopefully, I won't drop. I know the internet's been acting a little strange. That's because I think everybody in the world is on here. If it does, a couple things can happen. One, somebody let me know. That happened the other night. And they kept texting me. They kept calling me from Canada. I was like, who's calling me? That's because nobody was listening to me for about 5 or 10 minutes. That does happen. I'll jump on my phone. Or I always say there's enough drunks in these squares who can finish the story where I left off. Because most of our stories are the same. You can start off with your story and it'll be still right on track. So I know that AA goes on with or without you. So you guys will be all right if I lose you. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in my recovery. I always say thank you for doing a 12-step call on me. I don't know how this is going to be for you. It's almost like a one-night stand. In the end, it's like, I don't know if it was good for you, but it was good for me. I'm staying sober tonight. So that's why I say you're doing a 12-step call on me. So thank you so much. Hopefully I'll feel lighter on my feet when we're done. But in the beginning of this process, I tell you there's a share that I share before I share because it helps me. And that is that this is awkward, uncomfortable, intimidating, and I always feel extremely vulnerable. And I love how people say I don't need to worry because you're only sharing in front of a bunch of drunks. And I always say alcoholics are the most judgmental, cynical, self-centered people. So that's not comforting. I'd rather speak in front of the PTA. It's very intimidating. I always feel exposed and I got to get butt naked with a bunch of folks, about 300 people. Every time I say I'm about to get butt naked, it wakes up the newcomers. So I do that to get the newcomers' attention. They're like, somebody's getting naked? Finally. It's going to get exciting in here. Got your attention, newcomers? I'm about to get naked. So I hope you stay tuned. Oh, man. But, despite the fact that this is uncomfortable and awkward and intimidating, I do it because my life depends on it. And somebody did it for me. That much I know. When I came into the rooms, I heard people share from podiums, and I don't know if they didn't want to do it or if their sponsor made them do it. I know they did it. And so it is my responsibility to do the same that was done for me, despite how I feel about it. So I'm here for you. I heard that when I got here, and I'll continue to share it, that there is a moment of silence and prayer. It takes place in every single meeting all over the world. That prayer is for you. But for the grace of God, you've been lifted up and brought into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. This was not your idea, and you don't get credit for this one. It says unstable. You've been given a gift, and it's a gift unearned. We ask you to keep coming back. Don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens, and let us love you so you can learn to love yourself. And it's going to be all right. I heard you don't have to take a drink again if you want to, and more importantly, even if you don't want to. I wish you the gift of desperation, because that's what it took for me. And there's music in these rooms. I hope you hear the music, but you see it goes past your disease that's centered in your thinking. It goes straight into your heart. Once the seed's been planted, you can't drink the same again. Ask any relapsers in the house. And welcome back any relapsers or retreads. In our home group, we call you our scouts. I want to thank you for scouting for us and letting us know that this thing ain't working. that we ain't missing out on nothing. Because many of you come back to tell that story, man, and there's some folks that don't make it back. So God's got plans for you. So I hope you keep coming back. And the newcomer is the most important person in the room, and truly you are. We need you, and we're so glad you're here. But I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for the old timers. So I always need to take a moment to thank all the old timers in the house. Thank you for my life and my sobriety. I still want what you have. I'm glad we don't get that well around here. I'm so grateful that the old timers keep showing up, put together a whole lot of no matter what. What impresses me is that you haven't killed yourself or somebody else, because after a while that becomes an option. I watch the old timers come back and sit in that same seat week after week. I keep coming back, so one day I'm going to have my same seat, and everybody's going to know not to sit in that seat. Juju in that seat. I watch them sweep the floors and put up the chairs and extend their hands. Newcomers, they're usually the most quiet person in the room, unless they're the bleeding deacon. Whenever you go talk to the old timers, they've been around like a Herb King from my home group. He's passed away now. Herb would have 53 years of sobriety, and you go up to him excited and be like, Herb, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? And he say something like, one day at a time. You'd be like, that was deep. Thank you, Herb. That's usually the old timers. And I don't know if you have this in your home group, but so for some reason, I'm attracted to this. In my home group, what I like watching is that a lot of the old timers have been hanging out with each other for the last 40, 50 years. And some of them still don't like one another. There's something about that I dig, man. I don't know what that is, but I dig it, you know? I like to see when so-and-so gets up to share, the rest of them are still rolling their eyes. You know, like, man, they're still here. And their attitude is like, that's right. I like that so much. So thank you for coming back regardless. Oh, man. My sobriety date is March 29th, 1990. But for the grace of God, I've had the honor and the privilege of being with you all for the last 30 years. I was going to say 29 because I just had a birthday. For the last 30 years. And I don't consider myself an old timer because in my home, every time you reach a milestone, they change it. So I think it's a particular group that want to stay the only old timers. So every time I reach 25, now it's 30. I reached 30, now it's 35. So that's good. I'm always going to be a newcomer. I'm going to share in a general way what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. There's a reason for that. I invite you to listen to the similarities and not the differences. And you get to ask yourself some questions like that happened to me. I felt that way too. And most importantly, perhaps this program can work for me. As the story goes, you know, I think God has a sense of humor, as most people say. I'm not comfortable speaking. I know some people who love to do it, can't wait to do it. Some people ask me, how can they do it? I appreciate not traveling. I wasn't too much into planes, trains, and buses, so I like Zoom. But somehow I really believe that God must believe in his infinite wisdom, that somehow if he doesn't put me in front of you, you just might lose me. And that I don't ever forget. So I just want to make sure the same person keeps calling me. Is that any of you trying to tell me you don't hear me? No? Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you hear me, Alan. Because, okay. All right, cool. That happened to me the last meeting. Someone trying to call me and I'm ignoring the calls. Okay. As the story goes, in this part of the story doesn't change. It is significant that I remember it so that I don't repeat it. Yeah. When I arrived in Alcoholics Anonymous, you told me to examine my relationship with alcohol. And I encouraged those who are new to do the same. And as I began to look at this portion of the story, when I share it, is as though I'm talking about myself in third person or I'm talking about a stranger. But I don't ever want to forget her. I'm born addicted, folks, so I don't have the luxury of telling you what it was like to meet alcohol later on in life. My mother is an alcoholic, an admitted alcoholic in Alcoholics Anonymous. Mommy has 34 years of sobriety, and mommy drank when I was conceived. According to my mother, I'm a product of rape. My father has a different perspective on that situation, so I left it up to them to figure that out. As a matter of fact, I didn't find that out until my dad came to hear me speak when I was in Arizona. And when we got done and got to the house, he was like, I didn't rape your mother. I was like, that's what she told me. Now I got to change the story. You can hear mommy laughing over here. I wasn't wanted. Mommy left me in the hospital. It was my dad and my grandmother that brought me home. My mother told my father, you wanted it, you can keep it away from me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to touch it, and I don't want to see it. And so it was my dad and my grandmother that brought me home. Now, according to them, whenever I cried, they tried to give me milk, formula, juice, but my body would reject it. And so the only thing that would stop me from crying was alcohol. So that's what they gave me. Now, their intention was to weed me off. If anybody knows a child that's born addicted, it's best to give them that and then taper them off. So that was their objective. But they came up with this idea, and that was to leave me alone in the house with mommy because she refused to see me or touch me. Mommy says that she started hearing me cry, and she kept saying, shut that thing up. Why am I hearing that thing? And she went in the living room and discovered she was alone with me. So her initial response was to get a pillow and smother me, trying to get rid of me once and for all. But for whatever reason, she recalled hearing them say, if you give her alcohol, she'll stop crying. From that moment on, my mother set a precedent in that home that a bottle of alcohol was to remain in my mouth, and the only time it was to be removed was to be refilled. The intention was hopefully I would die from alcohol poisoning. And if I didn't die, you wouldn't hear me, see me, and I would be non-existent, either case. Certainly I didn't die because I'm still here. If not, you'd be talking to a ghost right now. But what ended up happening was the latter. You didn't hear me, you didn't see me, and I was non-existent. I drank every single day from the moment of conception to the day I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, every single day, all day long. I didn't go one day without alcohol being in a bottle in my mouth. Now, not too long ago, someone asked me, how did I survive? How do you give an infant alcohol and only alcohol? And I'm here to tell the story. And I found that to be a very valid question. It had me rethink whether that story had validity or not. Was it possible that it was an exaggeration of the situation? And I took it into writing, prayer, meditation, spoke with some family members. And what I concluded along with my sponsor is that I am abundantly clear that the reason why I tell you today that my name is Theresa, I'm an alcoholic, is because what makes me different from the average tempered drinker, what makes me different from the problem drinker, is that I have this thing called the allergy of the body. It's the only thing that will explain why you would give an infant alcohol, which is poison, and the normal reaction is for that child to die or to get sick. Instead, my body accepted it, welcomed it, and demanded and looked for more. So I'm not confused when I tell you that I am an alcoholic because I suffer from the allergy of the body. I've got no room to think that I'm not. So my relationship with alcohol begins with it given to me and the fact that I myself never made a conscious choice to drink. It wasn't until I got older that I made conscious choice to add, to add some addendum to my drinking, some extracurriculum activity and the progression of that. But alcohol was something that was a given. It was normal and is what I always did. So my alcoholic life is actually a normal life. I drank to breathe. It was my nutrition. It was my oxygen. It was the blood that ran through my veins. And it was the only thing I ever knew. Needless to say, I was always malnourished. To this day, I have immune deficiency. So that's why the moment the pandemic hit, I've been on lockdown, and so has mom. And so I would always have to go to the hospital because when you have a cold, I get pneumonia. In the winters, I was always high fevers and sick. What was interesting is that every time I went to the hospital, they discovered that it was because I was malnourished. And they would give me nutrition in that clear bag, and they would always send me back to the home. I don't know, maybe in the 60s, it wasn't a big deal, but they would always send me back to the home. My grandmother and my father were just as powerless with alcoholism as I was. Eventually, alcoholism won out, and my grandmother and my father left. And my brother, my older brother, never understood the relationship between my mother, myself, and alcohol. Now I'm going to give some adjectives to describe the first 24 years of my life. And these adjectives that I'm using are words in which you gave me. I did not have them before I came here. And that is that you say I come from a dysfunctional family. This is my family to this day. I grew up half the year in Puerto Rico, half the year in New York. And the same thing that I saw in Spanish Harlem or in the projects of Manhattan was in the mountains in Puerto Rico. I didn't see anything different. You call that dysfunctional? My family are pimps, dealers, hustlers, gangsters. They're also priests, politicians, and police officers. They're all the same to me. Dysfunctional. Everybody's an alcoholic or addict. We die from cirrhosis of the liver, kidney failure, falling down, cracking your skull, getting shot, or ODing. Family, we put your drink or your drug of choice in the coffin with you and we take pictures. We celebrate your death and we cry when a baby is born. You call that dysfunctional. Other adjectives I received when I came here, you call this verbal abuse. All I know is that that's the way people spoke to me. I was stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm unwanted, I'm disgusting, I'm ugly, people wished I would die. You say that's verbal. All I know is that's the way they talk to me. The other adjective you gave me was physical abuse. I've been punched, kicked, spit on, burned with cigarettes, pistol whipped, poked with knives, shot. I remember my brother shot me in the butt. He said he was aiming at the chair, but I was sitting on it. I came here, you guys told me that's called physical abuse. That's what they did to me. The other adjective you gave me was sexual abuse or molestation. All I know is that's what they did. Men and women took turns with my body when they saw fit. I don't know if I was sold, if there was an announcement, or I had a sign on my forehead. I just know that people did to me what they wanted to when they wanted to. And perhaps part of the reason was because I was insignificant and non-important and not wanted. The only people who did want me was my grandmother and my father, and they couldn't intervene. And I lived that way for 24 years. Now, as horrible as that sounds, I was not present for that experience. Alcohol spoke to you, but it spoke to me. And it told me if nobody loves you, I love you. If nobody wants you, I do. I'm your best friend, got your back. I'll always take care of you. and you don't have to worry about anything or anybody. So alcohol was my lover, my nurse, my friend, my companion, my mother, my father, my teacher, my road dog, my oxygen. It was my master. It was my higher power. It told me when to get up in the morning and when to go to bed at night, where I was going to live, where I wasn't going to live, if I was in a relationship and if I was not, and who I was in a relationship with, if I was going to work and if I wasn't. It dictated every single area of my life. That was non-negotiable. It was not a secret. It was clear to everyone that nothing and nobody was to remove that bottle from my hand or my mouth. Now, I've heard a lot of stories in the rooms, and I understand that alcohol is no respecter of any person, place, or thing. I know people who have wonderful, loving parents, but yet here they are in these squares. I believe that I am this alcoholic that pursue drinking every day and every night, as long as it gave me the ease and comfort that was necessary to put me out of any misery should I had ever felt restless, irritable, and discontent. But here's a place that I believe we all end up meeting. And that is, for whatever reason, at the age of 20, alcohol betrayed me, it abandoned me, and it left me emotionally retarded with no coping skills. And the way you describe it is that alcohol stops working. All I know was that I had been living flatline, detached, and disconnected. It was as though I had been living in a coma. I was now resuscitated and brought into the presence of this thing you call life, and I had never been here. And all of a sudden I had a heartbeat, and I became present for my experience. That's what happened to me. My bottom lasted 6 months, where I took a drink and I began to notice. I began to hear the name calling, feeling the violation, and I had never seen them, felt them, or heard them before. And I got confused and I was scared because I didn't know where I was and I didn't know what was happening to me. The sun came through the window and it burned my skin. I didn't know what that was. I looked in the mirror and I didn't know who she was. I had been living on the outside. I knew how to dress up my outsides. I had no idea the inside. And now I couldn't dress up my outsides anymore. I couldn't take a bath because the water hurt my skin. Enough makeup to cover up whatever this was. I walked in a bar and I heard them say, "Look what the trash brought in." How long had they been saying that? I can't tell you how long they said it, but I remember when I heard it. And I tried to laugh it off, but I couldn't shake it off. I call that alcoholic torture. When I'm restless, irritable, and discontent, I take a drink to get that ease and comfort, but I'm still restless, irritable, and discontent. I don't mind doing incomprehensible, demoralizing things when I don't notice. I always went up and down alleys at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I dare you to come up on me. But now all of a sudden I'm paranoid. I didn't take a paranoid class, people. I was freaking out. I wanted the good old days to come back. The days where it just didn't matter. The days where I could just check out. present for what was happening to me. And no matter what I did, no matter what combination I tried to put together, I was still present for my experience. So the best thing that I can come up with was to invite death into my life. And I believe it's a cold thing to invite death into my life, viable option, and death don't even take me out. I still think that's a trip. I end up doing what I call the aimless walk, the walk with no purpose, no agenda, no destination. It's just a walk. And I ended up in a church. That's all. I stepped inside this church and I felt a presence. It's more the presence that I feel when I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the presence that I felt was outside of me, and I felt it around me. And I said, and perhaps this prayer is different than any other prayer. Now, I can't tell you that I stood in this church and I was done or I was surrendered. I don't have that language. I don't know anything about that. I also didn't have these adjectives that I've acquired here Anonymous to articulate my experience. But I was standing there with these words you've given me of isolation, desperation, and bewilderment. I didn't have that at the time. I just know that in this moment, there I stood. In the 12 and 12, it describes my experience as an act of providence. You talk about in the big book, a moment of clarity, where the gift of desperation was present in, and what became visible was the window of the grace of God. And what I said in that moment was, God, please allow me to feel the peace that I feel in this church inside of me. And if you knew, I hope you never forget that moment. That moment is the fuel that continues to push forth the passion and enthusiasm that I have here today. That I don't ever want to repeat that moment that was so horrific, but yet turned out to be the catalyst and the blessing for me. I wanted one moment for my head to shut up, my skin to stop crawling, and for my stomach to stop turning. I always say I lost my hustle, man. That was horrible. I've been through a lot of things in my day. I heard the most horrific thing for an alcoholic is that you can't get drunk and you can't get sober is the worst place for me to be. I had no idea that anything was listening to me, paying attention to me. I didn't even know that prayer was going to change my life. I left my father's house. Daddy opened up the door and looked at me. And what came out of my mouth was amazing. I said, Daddy, help me. I ain't never asked for help before, folks. I ain't no punk. You see, there's rules where I come from. I'll help you all day long. What do you need? What you want? I'll do for you. What you want, Alan? I got you. Want me to help you? Because you know what? You owe me for the rest of your life, and I'm coming back to collect. You follow me? So I'll starve before I ask you to help me. So was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself? Where'd that come from? Daddy, help me. I said, I'm tired, Daddy. I was tired of waking up to that another 24 hours. And my father said, with all the love that father can have for his daughter, he had to watch me slowly kill myself. There was nothing he could do about it. But he said, you're standing in the middle of a crossroad and there's 3 directions you're headed. You're so close to them, you could taste them and smell them. And that's jails, mental institutions, and death. But there's another road. It's called recovery. You don't know anything about it, and neither do I. But if it doesn't work out, the other 3 will be waiting for you. That fact remains true to me to this day. I got on a Greyhound bus and came out to California, where I thought California was a sober state. I thought everybody was sober in California. And that's because there's a tradition around here called attraction. My mother is sober and my cousin. And I used to come to California and they would come to these meetings. And maybe you messed up my drinking. Because they say once the seed is planted, you can't drink the same again. But I remembered you people. I remembered the smiles, the warmth, and the camaraderie that you have with one another. I remember you never shunned me, roll your eyes at me, suck your teeth at me, and you never try to shove a pamphlet down my throat. And for that, I am truly grateful. Because I really believe that had you had done any of those things, I would have figured out how to die out there before I proved you right. I detoxed on a Greyhound bus. I had my last drink in El Paso, Texas. There was a man on that bus that I believe saved my life. More people die from alcohol detox than anything else. And I had not been without a drink in my body since fetus, and I was sick. He bought me from the bus depot. He got me a drink. He held it to my mouth because I was shaking so bad. And I remember I slopped it up like a dog that had been out of water. I was sick. I believe that drink allowed me to come the rest of the way. Not only did it help me, but I think it helped most of the people on that bus. I was telling that to somebody yesterday. I think I'm going to have to find all those people on the bus and make amends. Could you imagine somebody detoxing? I felt bad for those people. Oh, my God. Because I remember coming back on the bus and I was like, woo, all right, everybody. I don't know what that was all about, but I'm feeling better. I arrived in downtown Los Angeles on March 29, 1990, wearing a size 1 pair of pants, 2 pants underneath, a huge sweatshirt, 4 months pregnant, didn't have a heartbeat by the time I got here. That was my 4th child I had lost. I have not had the honor and the privilege of having children ever since. Every time I go to the doctor, I'm reminded of how damaged my insides are. It's interesting. Today I have new adjectives. The doctors have given me adjectives today like fibromyalgia, PTSD, anxiety, depression. And now I'm 55 and now I have menopause in the middle. Got my fan, ladies. I mean, like, I feel bad for everybody in the house. I got the air conditioner on, the fans on. I walk around the house going, this girl. Anyway, that's my announcement. And when I arrived in Union Station, LA, my mother picked me to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got sober in 9604 Crenshaw Lano. My mother left me there. She dropped me off. I always say I feel like a baby in a baby basket left at the doorsteps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Mommy left me there. She left because she couldn't help me. And she turned me over, saved her life. So I've really been on a journey from the moment I landed at the doorsteps of Alcoholics Anonymous. This was the last house on the block. I knew that when I got here, if you couldn't help me, somebody need to blow my brains out. I didn't come here looking for a social club. I didn't come here trying to figure out how I could still manage and control. When I came to you, I had no more chips in the game. I had no more straws to draw. I had no more cards to bluff with. I was done, man. I could not live another 24 hours like that. My friend, my lover, everything I ever knew was no. My higher power was gone, and I was in trouble. And I am so grateful that God picked me up and dropped me off into a place that was going to offer me a solution that was beyond anything I could ever imagine or know. Let me tell you something. I sound like, what's his name from a living sing or whatever. Anyway, that show. Let me tell you something. What was that? I just felt like Jim Carrey. Wait. How much more time? I got like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What I got? I don't know. Okay. You let me know, somebody. Okay. So I tell you this. When I arrived, okay, I always describe coming to Alcoholics in a witness protection program. Or like I came to Disneyland and I haven't left. Wait. Or SeaWorld or something. Okay. Talk about, okay, it's a culture shock within itself to come from New York to California. Even to this day, I tell people, I'm not yelling, I'm just talking. You need to get nervous when I get quiet. As long as I'm doing this, we're good. Sometimes when I go to the store and stuff, some people say, are you from New York? And I'd be like, why? Am I confrontational? Not really, trying not to be. I got sober in South Central Los Angeles, man. God knew where to put me. I got sober at 9604 in Crenshaw, Lano. Proud of the breed that I come from. I hope you're proud of your home group. And, you know, God knew where to put me, man, with the hustlers and the hustlers and the liars and the liars and the cheaters and the cheaters, man. I got sober with Skid Row drunks. They were grateful that they had teeth and clean underwear. You know what I'm saying? That was a good day, you know. I always say I'll never forget this woman. There's a lot of, it was a woman who shared. And she said her moment of clarity was that she was hanging out in an abandoned building and she was watching this rat babies better than she was taking care of hers. I was like, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? What? Wait a minute, y'all. Hold on a second. Let's take that in for a minute. You know what I mean? In here, I was like, okay. Now, you would think I came in with a sense, even though this desperation, I still had a sense of arrogance, selfish and self-centered, self-will run riot, vanity, thinking that my stuff didn't stink. And you would think that with that liability, I would have came into the rooms and said, I'm not one of you. I'm prejudiced, you would say. I grew up with Puerto Ricans. Okay, now I'm from New York, and I know it's a melting pot, but we're very segregated. Okay, I live with Puerto Ricans. I work with Puerto Ricans. I went to school with Puerto Ricans. Now I'll visit Little Italy and have a pizza. I'll go to Chinatown and have some Chinese food. You follow me? But I ain't hanging out with Italians or Chinese people. And so when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I love the traditions. I was hanging out with people who weren't Puerto Ricans. Easy said I don't belong with any of you because you ain't Puerto Rican. My thing was, if you ain't eating rice and beans, listening to salsa and watching Telemundo, I have nothing to talk to you about. And they told me immediately that traditions around here, that was none of my business. That the principle before personality was I needed to put my personality to the side. And I needed to look at the similarities and not the differences. And if you're new, it doesn't matter what your religious group is, what your political beliefs are. It doesn't matter where you work, how much money you have, how much money you have. What matters here is whether you be alcoholic or not. And that knocked that out of the box and allowed me to listen to you. I remember looking at the people in the rooms and saying to myself that I think I'm more intelligent than them, or my resume seems more outstanding. Told me that was none of my business. And what I began to examine as I listened and watched all you folks was like, wait a minute. I may think that I'm better than a lot of you people, but there's something that you have that I don't have. And I don't know how to stay sober 24 hours. So perhaps I need to leave outside what I think I got going on and figure out what you got going on the inside. Kind of girl, folks. I came here not to play. I was ready to rock and roll. They told me to sit down, shut up and listen, take the cotton out of my ears, put it in my mouth. My best thinking got me here, and that's what I did. I was out of the debating society. I didn't come in here trying to say, let me figure this out. I was relieved to find out that I didn't have to figure out anything anymore. I was tired. They gave me the big book of alcoholics textbook. It was meant to be studied. It was not a novel. They told me to sit in the front. And as I listened like the dying only could, I needed to examine my relationship with alcohol, mine. And the way I examined mine, it was listening to you. And as I began listening to you, I had to connect the dots. They made it very clear to me that the only step I needed to do around here perfectly was step one. Innermost self, that I was truly alcoholic. that if I had any reservation whatsoever, the remaining steps would be no interest to me. I became a private investigator. Maybe I like those CSI movies and stuff. And collecting data. I didn't call myself an alcoholic because you did. I didn't call myself an alcoholic because it sounded cute and I wanted to be a part of the group. I didn't even know what an alcoholic was. And you laid it out for me in the big book. And that big book became a pop-up book. And I began to see me in those pages. And I don't know about you if you knew, but if we really begin in this moment of clarity when we come into the room and start taking line by line, word by word, and connecting the dots to our experience, if you be alcoholic like me, I'm scared. Are you scared? Call me Latina, dramatic, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. All I know is that as I read the big book, it was like a telenovela. I was like, what are you saying to me right now? Anyway, let me tell you, this program is a trip. You mean to tell me that no matter how much I put in my body and I tell myself I'm going to do more and there's nothing I could do about it? I don't know about you, but that was scary. You mean to tell me that I have a mind, that peculiar mental twist? You don't know what it is? If you knew, look it up. Every time we go through that passage in my big book study, I say, lock the door. We say for an hour and a half. My mind is, this mind is going to plot to put me in a situation, give me the delusion that I'm in charge, but really is setting me up to not be in charge, but tell me that I am in charge. I don't know about you, but that's scary. Okay. That nobody ever apologized for the relationship with God when I got here. They made it very clear to me that I had to find a power, because the higher power that I have been living by and relying on, and I have higher powers. When I came to you, my higher power was called Hennessy, Cavassier, Jim, Sally, Susan, my job title, where I lived. I had a lot of higher powers. All my life, I've reached outside of myself. It's no wonder I've always come up short. I needed to find a new power. Where am I to find this power? This is what I've been doing for 30 years. It's really a simple program. They used to say simple program for complicated people. It ain't that deep, man. Where am I to find this power? This woman, Marcy, gave me a hint when I first got here. She put her hands on my face and looked at me and she said, you got a beautiful light inside of you, baby. We just got a clean house for that light to shine. That's what Marcy told me, and I believed her. That power was inside of me. Down inside, and every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It lived inside of me. Now, that may not be a big deal to you, but it was to me. What did Marcy see? What she saw in me, I saw in you. It's more like what portrayed the bill when he opened up that door. I wanted to find out that power. How do I get there? Through the steps. That's the roadmap. Follow the breadcrumbs. I just need to get rid of the junk that's blocking me. So I've been on a journey for 30 years of uncovering, discovering, and discarding. I've been treating my alcoholism that only a spiritual remedy can conquer. I needed to find a power greater than that power. And I found it here. The higher power that I've discovered here needed my permission. The higher power I've ever had never asked my permission, it just took it. How do I know this power needed my permission? I need to make a decision on step 3. That's how I know. I need to get rid of anything that blocks me from this power. As a result of doing that, I've watched this power give me freedom that I've always wanted to have. Before, I was under the illusion that I was free, but I wasn't. I've watched this power, thank you, 5 minutes. I've watched this power transform and transcend this girl who thought she was nothing and nobody into a woman of dignity, of integrity, of self-respect. I don't know about setting boundaries and building self-esteem and figuring out my life. I don't have to figure out nothing. I treat my alcoholism. I tell that to people I work with all the time. Oh, where should I work? What should I do? Should I move? Should I go here? That's my business. Is to clean house, trust in God, and be of service. I am no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated. I got a new employer and a new director. We have a staff, and we conclude our day with a staff meeting at night. I have a lot of suggestions in the suggestion box, and sometimes I don't get a memo. It's very interesting that people go on this journey trying to find God. I love this program, you guys. It's so simple. People, I'm trying to figure out God. I'm trying to find God. You don't need to. It tells me where God is. It says, may you find God now. That's where God is. Stop looking for him. Just do everything possible to get into the now. Now, this is what I've done every moment of every day. I say, God, what will you have me be? Remove anything that blocks me. What is my assignment? I have been the caretaker to most of my perpetrators and my abusers, and I have stretched my spiritual muscles. I have treated those the way I had always wanted to be treated. That mother I was telling you about, mommy lives with me. Mommy got Alzheimer's. Taking alcoholic. It's so funny with the disease of Alzheimer's. It's just like alcoholism, but they just have a disease that lets them get away with it. Look at mommy's cracking up. Oh my goodness, you guys. 30 years has been a journey, and it has not been fun. I just want to let you know. I've done the uncomfortable until it became comfortable. I learned you don't have to dance with everybody, but you need to dance with somebody. You're as sick as your secrets. I don't know how not to give this program away. The only thing that ensures permanent sobriety is working with another alcoholic. So my phone rings like central office. Now since the pandemic, I need volunteers. Have a coffee pot going on all the time. I used to kidnap newcomers. I've gotten better where 3 days later, they're like, I swear I won't drink. Just let me go home. I'm like, no, I'm having financial issues. We're going to go through the big book one more time. I don't know what you're going to do if you knew. Honestly, I really don't know. All I can tell you is what we've done. This is a more action. I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to stay in the middle of the herd of unity, recovery, and service, because for me to drink again is to die. I cannot go back to that other life knowing that this one exists. And I don't think I'll ever find you again if I leave. So I always like ending with a couple of things. I call God a show-off. So I don't tell you if I can do it, you can do it. I also don't say to you that I don't have any options or any reasons to drink. I have tons and many. The miracle is that despite every option and every reason, I have it. To watch my father take his last breath, or to put my brother on a life support machine and watch that machine go flat, I cannot tell you the pain that was, because I was present for that experience. But what I can tell you is the miracle is that despite that level of pain, not a thought occurred to me to drink. All I did was throw myself harder into helping others. So that's why I call God a show-off. Takes a girl like me, unloved, unnecessary, and insignificant, picks me up, dusts me off, builds me up so you can see what he could do. All I needed was a mustard seed of willingness. Just a mustard seed. That my worst liabilities become my greatest assets. Makes me useful and purposeful. I get a blessing, like Ralph says, to be a blessing. I've been hearing that my whole sobriety. Ralph said, sobriety is a gift given to me by God, and what I do with it is my gift to God. My sponsor told me, you may not be responsible for your disease, but you're responsible for your recovery. And I got 24 hours to do it. And I say, if this power can do it for a girl like me, could you imagine what he can do for you? To show off. So I put one hand in God and one hand in this program, and I keep coming back, and I keep coming back. So I can see what I can contribute to life. I'm a sister, an aunt, a friend, a neighbor. I like it. I like this gig. even though it pisses me off sometimes. At least I got another shot at another day. If nobody told you they love you today, I truly, truly do. Again, you guys have no idea the 12-step call you've done on me today. I'm a student. I've been a lot, you know what I mean, with school full time, helping people in recovery, taking care of mommy. I have days where I'm just like, I don't know if I can go on, man, uncle. And I pick up the phone and I say, how you doing today? I never had it so good. You guys talk about beyond your wildest dreams. I never dreamed. I didn't even know what it was. But I thank Alcoholics Anonymous to allow me to watch these dreams unfold and give God all the credit and all the glory, and Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for allowing me to participate in my recovery. All right.